Hi, thanks for visiting and viewing my video on Get Crypto Coin. Today's video tutorial is to show you how to create and install a mine and pool on a VPS server with a clean install of Ubuntu 16.04 or 18.04, which I'll be using for this demo purpose. If you need some help in finding a good VPS provider, I recommend Contabo, which you can see here, who offer a good range of VPS packages. During the install, you will see that they recommend having at least 8 GB of RAM resources to run your mine and pool successfully. For this install, I'm using the 799 package, which has got a 4-core CPU and 10 GB of RAM, which is sufficient for our needs. You can also upgrade for an extra €5 per month and get a 6-core CPU with 20 GB of RAM, which again is more than sufficient. While you are choosing your VPS setup, it is important that you install a clean, fresh install of Ubuntu 16.04 or 18.04. You will need nothing else. No control panel, no extra garbage needs to be installed on your server that will take up your resources. So once you have your VPS server details, like I do, I've already signed up and got my login details for my server. We will then need to go over to GitHub. GitHub is where we'll be getting the installer from. This installer is called Crypto Pool Builders Multi-Pool Installer. I have tried to install at least 5 different pool scripts, and most of them throw up errors or have some sort of conflict and just did not work for me. This was a very simple install, very easy instructions to follow, which I think that amateurs will find quite useful. I have some experience in Linux, although I am quite new to coding. But if I can do it, so can you. Take a look through the web page. You're quite welcome to pause the video here and have a look through the web page and see the information that's available. There are several different installs that we can choose. For this video, we are going to be installing the Yiimp single server install. It's quite a basic install, but enough to get us going. When we go through the install, some of these images will seem quite familiar, although quite daunting at first maybe. Here you'll see a few of the commands that we're scrolling through. Again, it's a good idea to get to know them, but you will see some of these commands come up through the install. Next we have a Yiimp multi-server install. This is ideal for those who have got a large public pool, as it offers more security. However, it's a lot more complex on setup. However, you'll still see that it runs Ubuntu 16.04 or 18.04 with a recommended RAM. WireGuard is another option that we can choose during the install. This is again a bit more involved on the install, and we'll do that on a separate tutorial. We'll have to run through a few server reboots, which I will talk you through. However, most of the guide or most of the install is quite automated, meaning it's quite easy to get your site online. Here we can see there is an option for a non-install with a bit more of a description. We have an MPOS install too, crypto node, and also a generic facet script, which will be coming soon. I look forward to seeing what that looks like. Another huge thing I will point out here is the support channel on Discord. It's fantastic. A huge thank you goes out to Crypto King, Dallas and Gross Crypto, who have all been amazing getting me and a few others that I know get online with their pool. It's really worth joining the channel. I will provide the link to GitHub and Discord in the comments or descriptions below. What we shall do is when I go back to the top of the page on GitHub, the crypto pool builders multiple build the multiple installer. We'll just scroll back down to the installation section where we can see the first curl code here. We'll need to copy this in a second and highlight it once we are logged into our server. What we'll need to do is now open our putty, which you can download online. This is a program that we'll use to connect to our VPS server. All you do is simply enter your VPS server IP address along with a port number, select SSH, and we can open. Here we then ask for our login details, which generally is root for a clean, fresh install. Next we enter our password that we were either given in our welcome package or one that we may have changed and edited ourselves. So simply enter your password. Please note that your password won't actually show up on the screen if you are new to terminal windows. Simply type in your password, hit enter, and we should log in as long as your details are correct to your VPS server. As we can see, we have now signed in. Here's the Contabo welcome message. We now need to go back to GitHub and copy the code that I showed you earlier. Here's the code. Simply copy, back to your terminal window. All we need to do here is right click and it will paste the wording straight into the terminal window and execute. Let's expand the window and look at what's going on. Here we can see it's installed on GitHub. It's now installing GitHub onto the server, where it will then clone the script onto your server for the multiple builder. Here we can see it's now starting to unpack the variety of packages. We'll just follow the instructions from here. Please be aware that the video will take several minutes to complete. The whole setup takes around about 45 minutes. Also, I may be doing things a bit slower for the purpose of this tutorial so you can follow me and the instructions. There's nothing worse than someone whizzing through a tutorial when you've got music banging out and it's a bit hard to understand what's actually going on while no one's telling you what's happening. Here we go, here's on the first message window. Here it reads, "Hello and thanks for using the Ultimate Crypto Server Setup Installer. Installation for the most part is fully automated. In most cases, any user responses that are needed are asked prior to the installation. Note, you should only install this on a brand new Ubuntu 16.04 or 18.04 installation, which is what I was advising you earlier. We don't need any extra stuff." Next we click OK. Here we're being told off as we're trying to install this as a root user. Is a pretty standard message. What is then telling us is that running any application as root is a serious security risk, which anyone involved in this line of work would know. So therefore we'll need to create a new user account. So we'll click and enter OK on that. So here we're being asked, do you wish to create a new user with SSH key login? Selecting no will create user with password login only. I'd advise if you're setting up a pool and intend to keep it online, I'd advise going for the SSH option. It's a far more secure option. However, for the purpose of this pool, I'm going to use password login option, which is just far more easier for the purpose of this tutorial. With the SSH key login, you may need to or you will need to save your SSH key, which is generated in a file somewhere, because you'll need this to access your VPS server in the future. If you're unsure on how to do this, you can always select the password login only, but just make sure you create a very strong password. Here we're going to create a username. It creates a standard default username, which is never a good idea to use. For the purpose of this install, we're going to use something nice and easy like pool admin. Be inventive, use your own username, or create your own username. Once you've entered that, simply press enter for OK. We want to now create a password. Create a nice strong password for your new user. Here we're going to call it password, and we're being asked to verify our answers. So for our new user account that we'll use later on to log into our server, we're now being asked if these are the usernames and passwords we'd like to use. So here we go, new username is pool admin, new user password is password. Is that correct? Yes. Press enter. There we go, it's adding the new user. Done that already. It's now installed, and we're being asked to reboot the system, as in the server, and log in as our new user. I must stress that's a new user, not the root user, which we are currently logged in as. Once we are logged in, we will then need to type in multiple, which we can see here in green writing, to continue the setup. So that's quite straightforward. We do is right click, reboot, even, need to reboot the server first of all. We now lost connection, which means the server's now gone into reboot mode. We'll just hold on for a minute or two while the server reboots and gets started again, and then we should be able to log in with our new username and password. Let's give it a try now. Restart session. Right click on the top bar of PuTTY and press restart. Here we go. We can now log in. And if it was too soon, it would just say it can't connect, so just close it and then retry again a minute later. So what we need to do is now log in using our new username we just created before the reboot, which was pool admin, or whatever you choose. The password is very obvious. Password, so it's something like that. Should now log in as our new user. And there we go. You see here, instead of root at our server, it now says pool admin. So we're now not logged in as our root, we're now logged in as a separate user account, which is pool admin. That was nice and easy. What we now need to do is continue as instructed at the top here in green white, and to continue setup we need to type in multi-pool. Press enter. And here we are, the next message box for the rest of the install. Here you can see option 1 is what we are set out to install, and that's a Yiimp single server. There are several other different installs here which I mentioned on the GitHub page. We'll ignore those for the time being because they are separate videos for another day. I will just point out though that Daemon Builder is another option that will pop up later on in other tutorials that are more geared towards building a coin or creating a coin for your pool. This tutorial will simply build and create a working website, a functioning website or /pool. What we'll need to do later on is install or create coins for your miners to come to and mine. This is where the Daemon Builder will come in. But like I say, that's a separate video. We'll come back to that later. Let's not overcomplicate things and continue back to the Yiimp single server setup. We'll enter onto that. So now downloading the installer, and we'll be asked another quick question. Here we go. So choose one for small private pools. Yiimp single server. If you plan on adding more servers later, you've got the Yiimp single server with WireGuard, which, like I say, is a form of protection for your pool. Again, feel free to have a look into that and see whether it can provide you or your pool or your users with any benefits. If so, you can always install this. But now we're going to choose Yiimp single server. Press enter. So here we go, you have chosen to install Yiimp single server. This option will install all the components of Yiimp on a single server. Please make sure any domain name or subdomain names are pointed to this server's IP address prior to running this installer. This is quite important, and if you own a domain name, you will need to log into your registrar and change your DNS settings and name servers so that they point to the VPS that you purchased earlier. If you're unsure how to do this, you're going to have to ask your domain name registrar. After answering the following questions, setup will be automated. Please note, if installing on a system with less than 8 GB of RAM, you may experience system issues. This is what I discussed earlier with yourselves. It doesn't apply to us because we picked the 10 GB package through Contabo earlier, so our resources are plenty enough for this tutorial and for this server. We'll now press enter for OK. And now we're being asked, do we want to use a domain name? For this install, I have a domain name which is already set up and pointing towards my VPS server. My domain name is called beastminingpool.com, so I'll be using that domain name for this install. If you don't have a domain name, you will just purely point your visitors to your VPS IP address, which is where your customers or your visitors will be able to access your mining pool through an IP address rather than a domain name. So if you have a domain name, select yes. If you don't have a domain name, select no. I'm going to select yes and enter. Are you using a subdomain for the main website domain? In this case, I'm not. But for example, pool.example.com. Like I say, I'm not using a subdomain name, so I'll be selecting no. If you are using a subdomain name, obviously select yes. Now we are being asked for our domain name. As I said earlier, it was beastminingpool.com. Press enter. Now they will generate a new URL or a stratum URL. This is auto-generated. I would leave this alone and just press enter to create this stratum URL as a subdomain. Install of an SSL certificate. I would recommend installing an SSL certificate if you are taking your mining pool seriously. It not only helps with security and gives your customers or visitors confidence on visiting your pool, it also helps with Google search engine rankings, which can be near impossible to achieve these days, especially for anything crypto related or mining pool related. So any helping hand that we can get to get into the search engines and search and rank well is a good thing. So I would choose install SSL certificate. This means that we would access our site through an HTTPS rather than HTTP. Let's select yes. Now we're being asked for a system email address. Enter your email address that you would use to communicate with your mining pool users. In this case, I'm going to use an old Gmail account, which captures spam. Next, this is to do with the admin panel, so this is more related to the back end of the website. This is where you would access the settings for your mining pool. From default, it will use your domain name /site, which is important, /admin portal as a default. You can change the admin access page if you wish. I personally don't like to leave anything as default because it allows hackers to easily find the page to attempt to access your website. Here, anyone would know that your admin page is admin portal. Change it to something better than this, but let's just change it to admin page for the sake of changing it for this tutorial. Let's press enter. Next, we are being asked to use the auto exchange feature on our pool. Again, you might want to do your research. Everyone has their own opinion on this. I personally don't like to use it, others do. If you select yes, it will allow your miners to use a Bitcoin wallet address to mine any coin, but be paid in Bitcoin. I personally prefer my miners to come along that are dedicated to mining a certain coin and therefore would need a correct coin wallet address to mine that coin. So I will select no for auto exchange. Some will prefer to click yes. It's a matter of preference. Let's press enter. Would you like a Yiimp to be built with dedicated ports? This is important to me. As I was saying earlier, if a miner comes along to mine a specific coin, then we can give them a dedicated port which they will access to mine said coin. So here we will select yes, and I advise that you do too. More will become clear later on future tutorials on how to create a coin for your mining pool. So here we'll select yes. Next, it's asking about our public IP address. Why? Because it will add our public IP address to a whitelist, and because your public IP address, as in your own personal public IP address, not your VPS or server IP address, this must be the IP address from where you will access your admin page from a home computer, for example. Normally this will pick up your IP address and have it automatically displayed in here. I'd always advise going to What's My IP, which is a separate website, and confirming what your IP address actually is. Once you have your IP address, simply copy it, come back to the page and enter your public IP address in here. Otherwise this should be fine. You should be okay to click OK. Next, behind the scenes, the script has installed many files on your server and will have created databases behind the scenes. Here you can see that it's automatically created us a password for our database for our root user. Here, all we need to do is just enter. I would not advise changing this, although you can get access and find out what these later on through configuration files. Again, this is something we'll cover later on near the end of the tutorial. Now we'll press enter. Here it's created another database password. Again, this is auto generated and does not need to be changed. Simply press enter. Next, it's a Stratum database password. Again, auto generated. No need to change it. Press enter. Next is a verification of our responses. We are using a domain name. We are not using a subdomain name. Our domain name is beastminingpool.com. The Stratum URL is simply stratum dot then our domain name. Next, if we want to install an SSL certificate, as I explained, I've chosen yes. The system email is set at my email address. The admin page of where we need to log in for our page settings is located here. If you've used capital letters, you will need to use capital letters when you type it in the URL bar of your browser. Next is the dedicated coin ports. We've chosen yes. Again, I advise choosing yes. The auto exchange option has been set to no, and your public IP address is displayed here too. Hopefully everything should be correct where we can select yes. If not, press no and restart the install. But for now, all our information is correct. Let's press yes. we take a look back at our terminal window, we can see it's now installing a variety of packages. This is going to take a number of minutes now to run through this setup. One thing is it's automated, but you must have patience and let the whole install complete. There will be a couple of extra things we'll need to do, but we'll figure those out when we get to them. The main thing is we can see here there's a lot of green text coming up with the word done, which is great. That means there's no red errors coming up, which is one thing I found a lot on a lot of other installation scripts. Got lots of clashes here, there and everywhere. But we can see it's now installing Andre, Certbot, MariaDB, and the firewall, UF firewall as well, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But basically, when we're going through the install setup, you'll have Stratum ports which are all blocked by default. When we set up a dedicated coin port, later on when we create and build a coin for our pool, we'll be using another feature, a daemon builder, which will install the coin onto our mining pool. But when you add that coin, you'll see that it will open a particular port, a dedicated port for whichever coin we're trying to install, so it allows miners to basically connect and not obviously get a block error or any error messages when they attempt to mine your coin via your pool, but without being in danger of talking too much on that, because like I say, that'll be a separate install video on how to do it, or how to install and create a coin on your miner pool. That'll be a separate 20-minute, 30-minute video. We'll try and label it with a coin ticker, so if it's a Litecoin, we'll try and get out a video and how to install Litecoin LTC on a Yiimp mining pool. We'll see if we can get a nice big long list of videos and tutorials up with various coins that we can get connected and working through the Yiimp mining pool. Maybe if we can all share and help each other out, that'll be awesome. And what we'll do is, while we're waiting for this to go through, I'll just take a look at a couple of other sites. Crypto King, who I mentioned earlier, who you can, well, one of the members, I don't want everyone bombarding him, but yeah, he's one of the members on the Discord channel, who's a fountain of information, just a diamond chap. He's so helpful. But yeah, like I say, a big shout goes to him. Get Crypto King. He's got a website, which I'll show you in a sec. It'll probably just give you a bit of an idea of what your website can look like with a bit of dedication. Well, let's go to my site here. Completely blank page at the moment. Not very appealing. I think it's actually just try to refresh the page partly then. But like I say, there's nothing really installed. I had wiped this prior to the video, literally 5 minutes before I fired up the video. I completely wiped my server. I had an active website with a handful of coins already installed, but before I got too far ahead of myself, I thought I'd just reset everything and yeah, like I say, just start afresh. Sorry that caught say then, because my page literally just loaded up. So you saw before we had a completely blank page. I think as we've been having a look around, obviously something's happening in the back end here, so it's now pretty much compiled enough for at least the home page to come active. I won't click anything else yet because I want the whole, I don't want to break the site or break the install. So yeah, we'll let the install completely finish. I believe we're going to need to reboot the server as well for everything to be completely finalized. But yeah, I suppose here we go. Here's the home page. Here's a very basic page of what you can expect when you get your pool up and running for the home page. Highly editable. Again, we'll go through that in a little bit. But we'll just take a quick jump over to Crypto King and have a look at his site, and we'll see what your pool can eventually look like. Ta-da! Click the auto refresh. But yeah, you can see he's gone for a slightly darker theme, or he has gone for a darker theme, a bit more pleasing to the eye. If we look on the right hand box here, we've got a extremely long list of mineable coins. Yeah, he's really worked hard and worked his magic on this. But like I say, since this is a function website, you can see on here there's a variety of coins that we can look at. We've got the script algorithm, NeoScript, Lira, says H256. Let's say you got Litecoin under the script here. So for example, if you wanted to mine Litecoin, you pick your location, pick your coin, which you should be able to see on here, Litecoin. We'd enter a wallet address. That's not my Litecoin wallet address. Now we pick a name for our mining rig. I'm on my laptop here doing this demonstration, but if we can call it laptop, click the button to start mining. It then gives us our code that we need to enter into our mining software, either into a bat file or configuration file somewhere. But this is basically all the details that we need to connect to Crypto King's miner pool. So here you can see the Stram URL it's given with a dedicated port I mentioned earlier. Again, I'll come a bit more clearer. Here's the user, as in the wallet address here. And we've got the full stop, and then the laptop, which is the name of our rig, mining rig. Then it's got password feature here, and then more specifically it's got which coin that we want to mine, which is the LTC ticker. So if we were to select all this and let's say enter it into our configuration file or bat file of our miner that we've chosen, and then start that bat file, we'll start the program, we should then mine using this setup. I could always show you a separate video on how to do mining, but for now I believe you're here to create a mining pool. You know how to do all this. But like I say, this is a fantastic little website. You've got a menu all up here, which is, again, this is quite familiar on our site that we're trying to create. Got some pool stats down here too. So yeah, it's all come along very well. Just one other thing I will point out is see the variety of port numbers, which will be dedicated ports we've got set up for each coin. So, you know, again, if we go back to Litecoin, we can see it's got a dedicated port of 5524. So by picking Litecoin, it's already put that in there. It knows what the dedicated port is. So if we try to connect using 5527, it's not going to allow us to connect. So it's important that we set up a dedicated coin port and direct our miners to that port where they can securely mine. Let's just take a quick sneak peek back at our install, see how it's going. It's come on a fair way. You can see a lot of green dones again, installed, created, upgrade and completed, complete. Told you this is easy. The rest of the hard work is to come. Here we can see it's actually installed the initial SSL certificate, and then it's done the self-signed SSL generation is now complete. Installed on MariaDB, Maria build done. It's also installed the Nginx, or had installed the Nginx servers, now doing an upgrade of it and completed it. It's now got a Stratum build on the go. It's installed a Bitcoin PPA, which is quite a common feature of most mining pools. You'll find that when you actually get access to our admin later, that'll be the only coin that is available as a coin to mine. Having said that, that's more visible from the back end or the admin end of the website. There's some other settings you'd have to put in to get Bitcoin even operating, but most people don't, just because of the size of the Bitcoin blockchain. Tend to go for the old coins. We'll see later on in, again, future tutorials I might do this in actually. We'll just take a peek into a few of the files, like configuration files, the homepage file where we can just edit a little bit of the text and maybe put a little bit of HTML in. Yeah, so we'll sort of build that into a separate tutorial video on where to find what. We will just brush on it, I think, when it comes up. You know, once the pool has actually installed, it'll just give us a couple of locations that we should maybe take note of. Should we want to edit any of those files I just mentioned, that is. So here's installed the Berkeley 4.8 and a Berkeley 5.1. I think there's a 5.3 package that will install too. A few more minutes to run, but we're getting towards the end. Feels good getting your pool up online. It's good seeing green wire. mean, even a little bit of advice, to be honest with you, is to get this pool completely up and running first time, no errors, no mistakes. You know, you've done quite well. You know, you might have to go through the install 1 or 2 times, or it's even a good idea just to go through it. You know, once you've done this 2 or 3 times, it's sort of embedded in you, I suppose, on how to set it up. Becomes second nature. But like I say, by, you know, say installing it and maybe going back to your hosting company and, you know, reinstalling the software, or, you know, from scratch again, and then maybe doing the install but in a different way. As long as you, you know, either know what you're doing, or if you don't know what you're doing, you can just, like I say, reinstall the operating system. And for your web hosts, there should be some sort of control panel, especially if you are using Contabo. Once you come onto Contabo, you logged into your customer control panel, and you go on to select VPS control. Just pause the video here while I enter the login. And here we are back again, now logged in. So once you've logged in, like I say, you would then just come over to your VPS control, your VPS server we purchased. It gives you the server IP address that we're using for this tutorial. Have other pools installed on other servers. But here, like I say, if we were going to, you know, need to completely start from scratch, you just simply click reinstall. We then get asked what operating system we'd like to load on it, and I tend to do, you know, forget what the actual wording is now, but we kind of don't need no control panels. It's just a clean Ubuntu 16.04 or Ubuntu 18.04, so no admin panels or nothing like that we need. So you just simply do that, click restart, wait 5 minutes I suppose for the server to completely reinstall the software, and then reboot again, and you would run through your whole install again, because obviously that would delete everything, so whatever you'd installed previously would be wiped. So yeah, there's how to do that. You can always reboot through the VPS panel as well, or if you're logged into your terminal window or logged in, you can always type in sudo reboot, and that would reboot your server too. Let's have a look at the install again. We can see if the folder permissions have been set. Berkeley 5.3 has been installed. It's now doing OpenSSL. Sorry, it's completed that. It's now building the BLS signatures. Daemon setup completed. Building a block notify. Now installing a mail system. It's quite an impressive script, isn't it? And here we go. Installation of your Yiimp single server is now completed. You must reboot the machine, as in the VPS server, to finalize the machine updates and folder permissions. Yiimp will not function until a reboot is performed. Here it says important. After first reboot, it may take 1 minute for the main screens to start. If they show stopped after 1 minute, type MOTD to refresh the screen. I remember that as match of the day. You can access your admin panel and this is what we created earlier, and for our admin backend. So you can see here it's now got our mine and pool URL or domain name, then /site, which is really important. If you forget this piece, you won't log in. So you must put your domain name /site / and then whatever page name that you created. In this case, we called our page admin page instead of the default admin portal, just to confuse hackers and would-be theft. Next, it says here, which is what I was talking about with the UFW firewall command and the dedicated ports, but by default all Stratton ports are blocked by the firewall for obvious reasons. To allow a port through from the command prompt, type sudo UFW allow port number dot, and then they say whatever the port number is, and this will then open up your port or your Stratton dedicated port. Next it says database usernames and passwords can be found in, and here's the file path. So you can either access that through your sudo command and edit the file, or view it, should I say. I would not advise editing it until you know what you're actually doing. Or you can view the file maybe through FTP programs such as FileZilla. You can always left click, highlight this text while holding the left mouse button down, let go, and that automatically copies this text. You can then right click on a separate text file or notepad file for future reference, and then save that file somewhere. But for now, to complete or continue the install, we will need to do as instructed, which is reboot the server, and then we'll then need to log back in. So let's type reboot. You need to type in sudo as a super user, sorry, if we're not logged in as root. Here you can see the connection's now been closed, which means the server is now shutting down for a reboot. Again, we're going to need to wait for a minute or two just for things to catch up and for the server to reboot, so we can log back in again as our new user, which we created at the beginning of the install, not as the root user. Let's give it a try. Restart session. Here we go, it's come up as login as. We called ourselves pool admin for our username. Again, enter whatever you entered. Now we'll type in our password, which for this tutorial is nice and easy. That's password. We should now log in and hopefully see our main screen. There we go, it's now loaded up. We can now see our main screen is running. And it's showing us here where our daemon directory is, where our wallets are installed. The blocks is running. And we can see here that our Yiimp directory, that's like the main website files, are stored in Yiimp and site. Our loop 2 screen is run, a debug screen is run, and here it just gives us a couple of hints on how to view a particular screen type and how to detach from a certain screen type. We can also see here that we can start, stop and restart a certain screen by using these commands, and to reload this screen we simply type in MOTD or match of the day. Here through the donation addresses for the script writers. But yeah, we are now logged into our server again after the reboot and after the install. So as you can see now, there is nothing more to do to get our pool or our website online. We should now be able to go to our pool, which I spoiled the surprise earlier, I must admit. But now we can see that the white screen had gone earlier, and our main home page is up and running. There we go. We can check on pool, wallet, which if we were or had been mining a particular coin, we would then enter the wallet that we'd input earlier, hit submit, and then we then come up with our statistics for the particular wallet or coin that we were mining. In particular, we'd come up with hash rate, how much you were due to be paid, how much you had been paid, how much you'd earned in total, etc, etc. So it comes up with some good statistics on here. Again, graphs is all about statistics, but again, because it's a fresh new pool, we're going to have no instruction or no information, no pretty graphs, no pretty graphics, unfortunately, yet, because like I say, this is a fresh pool. Miners, we could come on here and it would list all the miners mining a particular coin or algorithm. So here we go, that's mainly our home page. Again, like I say, once we eventually add coins to our pool, which will show you how to create them later on in separate videos, as I explained earlier. We'll see this box fill up on the right hand side here with some nice looking coins and tokens that our visitors can mine. Right, so that's that side done. We'll now just quickly take a look back up here. We'll copy this admin page again. So again, just simply left click, highlight it, let go, and we've got our admin page copied. Just put a new tab here, right click, paste and go, and we can now see it's coming up with our admin page. Again, it must be, so if you've used capital letters, keep with the capital letters. And because our IP address was already added to the whitelist, the site and the script has recognised that and redirected us to the admin dashboard, which you can clearly see is different from the main home page we're just on. Again, some of these are on the original page. So we can see here that we're on a dashboard at the moment. The other option we've now got is wallets. Again, I'm not going to get you too sucked into this, because this is, like I said, another 20-30 minutes on how to install a particular coin at least. So yeah, like I say, that would make the video too lengthy, but we'll just give you a quick guide, a quick look around. So if we're going to create a coin, we come on here, we give our coin a name, so Litecoin for example, we then type in the ticker LTC. These are ones with asterisks, so they are kind of required fields. So we give a coin a name, put a symbol into the algorithm, which for Litecoin, as you know, is script, and I believe that would do for that. Next tab is settings. We then click enable, auto ready, watch, and master nodes. Exchange. Any profits you get could be sent to an exchange, or you could then sell. A lot of exchanges might not necessarily accept payments in this method. You really need to just check that it's okay with your exchange, or at least just try a little bit in case you lose some. But yeah, you need to make double sure that your exchange or wallet on the exchange at least accepts this form of payment. Sometimes you might need to put a memo in, maybe, which I can't see on here that we can do. So just beware with this. You can always withdraw on other methods and transfer it across. So yeah, choice is yours. Next tab we see here is a tab called Daemon. This is going to become more prolific when we go through the coin builds, like I say in the next video tutorial. Like I say, I'm not going to show you this now, it's a bit too in depth, but we would enter a few details in here, like our dedicated ports, etc. But like I said, I don't want to get too deep into this, because this is another tutorial. Here, last but not least, we've got links, so you can then link to GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, etc, etc. So if you want to promote yourself, this is a good way to get some extra links. Again, at the top here, we can see that we've got a few other smaller menu items, hyperlinks. Up top here, we're not going to get a lot of information from these at the moment, again, because we've got a fresh install, so we've not really input a lot of settings, and obviously we've had no workers, no miners, so we're not going to have any, as I say, no pretty statistics to show you at the moment. But yeah, like I say, this is now got you well on the way to now having your pool up and running. This is, part of the work that's involved. Like I say, you're going to have to keep a lookout for my coin installs, how to create a coin and add it to your Yiimp miner pool, so your miners can come along, and hopefully we can start making some sort of small profit. Like I say, in future videos I'll show you how to edit the page, home page, how to view your configuration files, how to set up your Yiimp or your pool mining fees, and like I say, when we come onto the wallet or installing coins, you'll see how your wallets are also installed. Like I say, keep a lookout for more videos that are going to be coming this way. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Check out the GitHub page for crypto pool builders, the multi-pool build or installer. Revert back to this video as many times as you need to, but I'm hoping this gone slow enough, long enough, and you haven't got too far ahead of you, and that you're following this quite well. Like I say, I've been Get Crypto Coin. Check out the links below. in the description and comments. There'll be a few useful links there. My own blog, Get Crypto Coin, the mining pool itself, the Discord channel, and obviously the link to this GitHub page, which we can see on here, will eventually get you a basic website or basic mining pool site like this, which you could turn into something like this in hopefully a few weeks. But like I say, check us out on Discord. Give a few people a shout out. I'm on there quite often. You can hit me on Twitter as well, Get Crypto Coin UK. Through social media links on the website, which I've already said is in a link below. But like I say, hope you really found this useful. Subscribe, keep a lookout for my other videos. Good luck.